your reaction to the fact that the defense put Alec Murdaugh on the stand at all, and your thoughts on how it's going so far.
Well, number one, I don't know that I would probably take issue with the defense put him up. This is one of the only decisions that the defendant absolutely controls, meaning Murdaugh can be advised by his lawyers not to take the stand. I've been in a situation where I've actually, in a murder case on repeated times, told the client, it's over my dead body, and the client says, I don't care, and testifies anyway. So that's one issue. But number two, he really has nothing, absolutely nothing to lose. The financial crimes, if you believe what's been put out there and what's been developed in this case, he's facing essentially under South Carolina law the rest of his life in prison anyway. So is he going to go down for those anyway and not and get convicted of this, or is he going to get up there and try to explain it? So I had always suspected he would take the stand and had said as much. I don't see any downside for him to take the stand. By the way, up until this morning, I would have told you he was winning on points. What I generally see in cases like this is if the prosecutor feels that way, he's going to run out the clock, regroup over the weekend, and come back on Monday and keep cross-examining him. If the prosecutor sits down today, then the prosecutor thinks he's done his job.
Are you guys feeling any frustration, Ronnie? Let me ask you at how, let's put aside the last 15 minutes before they braked at 11:30 Eastern, okay? Because that got spicy and it seemed to be going well. For the prosecution. But it started at 9:30, so we had almost 2 hours of testimony before that last 15 minutes. I am feeling frustrated as a recovering lawyer who did try cases at the way this cross is being handled. You know, it's not that, like, we're always taught, and in actual practice, most skilled cross-examiners only want yeses or nos from the person they're crossing. And then you went down to the kennels, didn't you? And you saw Maggie and Paul, didn't you? And you spent the following amount of time there, didn't you? And yet you told this jury yesterday that for the first time, whatever, when you spoke to law enforcement days after the murders and the night of the murder, you claimed you never went to the kennels. Isn't that true? Yes or no, sir? This calls for a yes or you control the witness. It's not really about extracting info. It's about having the jury hear your version of the events confirmed by the defendant. And that's not what's happening here, Ronnie.
No, I agree. I mean, on cross-examination, it's always the question that's more important than the answer. And you're literally just using the opportunity to grab the microphone and say what you want to say through the witness. So
yes,
he gives a skilled and an evasive liar lots of rope and lots of microphone to get his speaking points in. And I would like to see him cut him off more effectively.
It's very frustrating, Mark. It's like Alec Murdaugh is smart. And this ain't his first rodeo in a courtroom. And he's taking all these opportunities to try to ingratiate himself with the jury, go off on his meandering talking points about things that may or may not matter to the case, but trying to show them, I'm helpful. I'm here, hat in hand, admitting to the financial crimes. I didn't do the murder, but like, let me speak to you South Carolinian to South Carolinian. We can all bond together. And the DA's allowing him to get away with it.
Well, there's one thing that we probably should talk about. We are watching this and not in the courtroom. If you believe what's happening or what's being reported in the courtroom, yesterday I heard at least two reporters say that at least two jurors were crying during his testimony. Another juror apparently pushed some Kleenex towards him. If the prosecutor is seeing this, he may want to kind of run out the clock, which is what it seems like they're doing right now. To follow up on your point, the fact that they've spent so much time in what Dick Harpootlian said yesterday before they recessed is, I haven't heard the word murder for the last 2 hours. And the judge said, well, that's fine. It's credibility. I think that's precisely what the prosecutor's mindset is. He's going to try to destroy his credibility. I will come back to this, though. I do not think that they're laying a glove on him, even in the last, as you said, 15 minutes. It appears to me that he has endeared himself to at least a number of these jurors. That's all he needs in this case. A hung jury for him is as good as a win.
It's right. You're exactly right. A hung jury is a huge win for Alec Murdaugh, and so he just needs one. Ronnie, when you listen to this guy on the stand, to me, as somebody who very recently interviewed the human lie detector, Phil Houston, developed the CIA's deception detection program that they're still using to this day, was at the CIA for 25 years actually doing this. So I'm not joking when I say he's a human lie detector. He actually is. And he talked to us at length about a little bit actually about this case in the Alec Murdaugh interrogation interviews, but in general. And when you qualify all of your answers on the important details, it's a sign of deception. You know, if somebody says to me, Megyn, did you cheat on your husband, Doug? I say, no, I didn't. I never have, period. I don't say, well, if I cheated on him, it was definitely not at a time when, we were married. It's not, I don't remember a time where I ever would have cheated. No, I didn't. That's what a truth teller sounds like. And we pulled just a small soundbite, but I do think it was interesting. The story in that's changed, that's so critical, is whether he was home taking a nap at the time of the murders or he was down at the kennels doing the murders. And he told the cops he was home taking a nap during the time of the murders, then got caught that he was there on that Snapchat video at least 6 minutes before the murders, like around 6 minutes before the murders took place. So now he's changed the story to, okay, I did go by the kennels, which isn't what I said initially. I did go by the kennels. I didn't want to do it, but I went. I did. And I had a quick exchange with Maggie and Paul. Then I went back home and got home around 8:48. This is where the prosecutor has them. They think the murders took place at 8:50. 8:50. When the old version was, I was asleep that whole time. Okay, now he's home 2 minutes before the murders take place, and home is just, yards away. Didn't hear anything. And we've gone from I napped for an hour to I dozed. Maybe I dozed. I didn't. Well, and here's just a little bit of how he sounded on his alleged nap. All right, this is soundbite 3.
Taking a nap, if I took a nap, but when I got up from laying down, as I was getting ready to go to my mom's, there was a point in time where I thought Maggie and Paul had come back.
All right, so just hold that, because he goes on a little bit more in soundbite 6 about his alleged nap.
All right, before you said you'd been napping for an hour or so, or napping that entire time, and now you lay down on the couch?
That's correct.
All right, and maybe doze for a second?
Maybe.
According to your new story? How long did you doze?
If I dozed, extremely short time.
Extremely short time? Because you would agree with me that at 9:02, you're up and moving, according to the data.
I agree that according to that data, my phone's recording steps at whatever time it is, 9:02 something.
How long did it take you, if you're at the house at 8:49, how long before you went and laid on the couch?
I would have gone straight to the couch, probably. I may have gone by the sink, or I may have gotten a spit cup, but it would have been basically straight to the couch.
If I did, I would have, I may have, that's what a liar sounds like, Ronnie.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous story, and the danger of having him put on the stand at all. I thought the defense was gaining great ground on a weak motive, on weak forensics, and on a rush to judgment by the investigator. So they had all of that in their camp. I agree with Mark. It sounds like this is the witness who just had to testify, but by him testifying, they've turned a very complex case into a single issue case, which is, do you believe Alex Murdaugh? And to put a finer point on it, is a single issue case on one lie in particular. Why did you lie to the police about having not been at the kennels? And the account he gives for that lie, I think, is preposterous. So this is the hazard of having him testify, or him insisting on testifying. Because if you recall back to the reason he gave for having lied, it's not that the drugs made him do it, it's that his addiction made him paranoid and made him not trust the police. Although he's been a solicitor, he's a third generation solicitor, he is the law in Hampton County. So it's a ridiculous story. And now he's got to back into version 2 that puts him safely away from the from the murder at the time it actually takes place. So he's put himself in quite a corner by electing to testify the way he has.
Mark, that just react to that last soundbite. I may have napped. I probably would have. I may have gotten a spit cup when I napped. If I napped, the old story on camera, 2 cops was I napped for 1 hour. Now, I mean, could you put more qualifiers in the on-stand testimony?
Well, so one of the things, my father was a homicide prosecutor, and he always used to say that it doesn't matter what happens in a trial once the defendant takes the stand, because then the jurors are going to go back into that jury room and all they're going to talk about is what did the defendant say. And here, that's what they're going to be focused on. I don't agree so far. And like I say, I think it's premature to make a judgment until we see whether they go the rest of the afternoon, regroup and come back on Monday, or whether they just sit down. I think it's premature because so far, if what people are telling me in the courtroom is true, I think he's acquitted himself, if you'll excuse the pun, extremely well. And he's obviously connected with some of these jurors. And the sip cup and the shit me up and the other colloquial expressions that he's been using, I think he resonates with some of these jurors. And obviously only time will tell, but I also think that the prosecutor understands that. And I think part of because the prosecutors are taking enormous criticism on their approach, I think they understand that they've got to do something to erode or to take back the narrative, if you will, because I think he's been effective so far.
One of our sponsors today is Donors Trust, the principled, tax-friendly way to simplify your charitable giving. Cancel culture doesn't just affect comedians and commentators anymore. It also affects everyday hardworking Americans. How? Well, it derails their charitable giving, believe it or not. Take Jeannie's story, for example. Jeannie did her charitable giving through one of these big national donor-advised fund providers. That is, until, without a clear reason, it refused to send her money, her charitable dollars, to a conservative nonprofit. Can you imagine how mad you'd be? She writes in, I'm a conservative. I believe America's great despite her imperfections, and that capitalism brings great good to society rather than government. Earlier this year, I requested another gift from my donor-advised fund, and it was rejected. Jeannie wanted a donor-advised fund that shares her conservative principles, and she found it in Donors Trust, the oldest and largest donor-advised fund committed to limited government. Do you want a principal partner helping you support causes close to your heart? If so, consider opening a donor-advised fund with Donors Trust. For more info on how Donors Trust can help, visit donorstrust.org/MK, DONORS trust.org/MK to receive a free copy of their donor prospectus, donorstrust.org/MK. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.